I'm gonna do it, I need to do this job right, I need to stay focused on it, and I need to give the best effort I possibly can. And not only that, but just between us, I was like, I'm gonna be the baddest motherfucker walking at 43, 44, 45, 46, 47.
Have a plan, make a decision, have real clarity, and be decisive, and then make your move. Get out there and go. Go train. Take that first step. That first step begins with that first rep. And in order to complete that first rep, you gotta get out, you gotta make a decision, and you gotta get to the gym. Be decisive, get to the gym, and start training.
But the key with me is just always finding what the anchor is. And the fucking anchor is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day before anybody else and grounding my thought process is in the no one will outwork me. No one. I love and I respect you guys. You motherfuckers won't outwork me. All starts with this. 2 hands, putting it to work. The anchor for me has always been the work in terms of the weight room training. So when I first started wrestling, I was 6 years old, rolling on the mats with my dad. My old man, a lot of you guys won't know this. Yeah, Rocky Johnson. My old man was Rocky Johnson. He was the first black WWF at that time. First black WWE tag team champions with Tony Atlas back in 1983. My uncles were wild Samoans. I come from a long line of pro wrestlers. But before the wrestling part happened, I was just in the gym putting in the work. At 6 years old, rolling around on the mats. And finally when I could touch weights at 13, that's what I was doing. But the weight part for me and the gym part has always been, has to be the anchor. Your body's your body, right? You're young now, you're balling, everything feels good. You have your little nicks and dings and all that shit. You're gonna have that, you're gonna have your surgeries. We all have it. But eventually, and I promise you this, the one thing that will never, ever, ever go away is you get your ass in that weight room and you put in the work. That's gonna happen when you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. That never goes away. You get on the court, you shoot some shots, but you're gonna wind up right back in the weight room, right? Right back in your spot. The key for me, what I think one of the keys is, remember where you came from, keep that shit in the front of your mind, and when shit goes bad and it goes sideways, a lot of shit does, you're getting booed out of the fucking building, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off, oh, you guys ain't gonna fucking make it, you know, any of that shit. You gotta keep it in here. And it really has to, it should drive you, it should. It works for me, it should drive you. You got all the talent in the world, it's all here. It's all here. Everybody's the next best thing. Everybody's the thing. Everybody's the best. It's all here.
That night, when I stood in the ring, and they started chanting Rocky Sucks, to the beat of that ring music, and all I had to do was look at him, and it came unglued. That was my high. That was my wrestling high, because that was the anchor that then allowed for everything else to happen the rest of my pro wrestling career. So my low was then chanting Rocky Sucks with me as a babyface. My high was them chanting Rocky Sucks with me as a heel, but I was gonna respond authentically. And since then, by the way, that logic I carry with me still today. And that is the genesis, that is the anchoring, that's my DNA and my makeup, is always making sure that I'm authentic. It seems you're going through it, and I'm sorry you're going through it, but what an opportunity that this is. I also appreciate the way you framed and phrased the question, because it's temporary. And I think, you know, this idea of losing it, we all go through this, and especially now. I mean, it is such, we hear the word unprecedented, we hear that 100 times a day, and it's unprecedented. What are we gonna do? There's questions, there's anxiety, there's stress, there's everything under God's hot sun as we are trying to come back as an economy and as a race, as a human being, as we're stepping back out into life. And so for a lot of us, and I've had wobbly days myself, where we've lost it, how do I bounce back? How do I find that willpower to bounce back? here's what I like to do. I like to ground myself. I like to just take a moment, step away, find a quiet space and really think about what the issue is, try and identify what the issue is. But then what I try to do is make sure that I am remembering the important process. And that important process when it comes to bouncing back is remember that all progress, little or big, starts with me. So it starts with you, it starts with us. That first step back, that first rep we have to take. First step, first rep, right? So it all starts with us. It goes back to that old saying that it's you versus you. So I try to remember that all progress begins and ends with me and me taking action, us taking action. So I wish you the best. Take action, step away, clear your head, get your context, get your perspective, and then let's get ready to rock and roll because states are opening up, gyms are opening up, and it's time for us to rise again.
You gotta be the hardest workers in the room. And don't fuck the opportunity up. The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times. So, and I'm sure you guys all have your processes, and again, I'm gonna tell you what's worked for me. So before a big movie comes out, before, back in the days when I was wrestling with WWE, a WrestleMania match, anything big that would happen, I would always take a moment and I'd just remind myself, all right, I was evicted when I was 14. We were kicked off the island, we couldn't live in Hawaii, had no place to live. A lot of shit happened then when I moved to Nashville. I was arrested multiple times by the time I was 16 years old. Like, I remember that.